Hi, Greg.
Greg, sorry.
It's okay, I'm Jenny, nice to meet you.
Pleasure, Greg.
You had a bit of an eventful day, Gerd.
I did.
How was your taxi?
It was grand.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a... It was very morning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Was he a proper Dublin taxi driver?
Yeah, but he didn't even have my taxi.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
Did you hail it like properly?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay.
What was he moaning about?
Just everything.
Oh, Greg, Jenny bought some memorabilia for us.
Oh, wow.
The actual
it's
bronze.
Yes.
from the World Champs this year, so that's the first ever one in Ireland. So it's a
Yeah.
special one.
Piece of history.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We can get some photos together. And
Yeah, for sure.
definitely. I brought this for you.
What's that for?
It's for your phone. Tripod for it.
Oh, okay. Can't.
Did Joanne do communication? Or did she do the media?
She did journalism.
Journalism.
Yeah.
She
So
did it.
there's
She,
three different.
she kind of gave us a little bit of shit for doing communications.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's a
Because
run.
it's just a running rivalry.
And vice
between-
versa, like.
we're just like journalism light, if you want, or like kind of.
Rachel English did communications though.
Yeah, Rachel English did
But it's
communications.
still recognised in terms of.
Oh, it's a credible course. Yeah, people
Yeah.
just take the piss because we have so little hours.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is
I'm generally-
extracurricular.
Things. Yeah, but like you're doing
Yeah.
extra things, so that'll stand to you, right?
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We get a lot more practical work in than certain courses.
journalism, that would they do as much like say multimedia things, or would it be more?
Well, there's a
kind of-
multimedia course as well
Yeah.
in the School of
Do you want me to
Communications.
take the phone
So
cover?
that would be more practical
Yeah.
video and audio, and then
journalism's
Was
more kind of probably
yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
things,
Oh, so it's that when we like it just bangs off the table, it won't.
Would you guys do any modules together?
Oh yeah,
We're all in the same.
Next semester, people get to choose with 2 out of 3 modules, so there will be a bit of difference there. But so far, we've all been in the same.
And in terms of, would you do any modules with people from journalism or?
Yeah, we shared with multimedia last year, media and English as well. Yeah, there's crossover with media courses basically.
Yeah, because I know like my first and second year we would have been in a lot of classes with sports science as well,
Yeah.
and some PE with biology.
Yeah, so there's just modules that cross
Yeah.
over with different courses.
Yeah.
You're not taking a photo now again, are you?
no, we already did
Yeah, do you think you can manage?
The first time we went to record an interview with the camera, he actually ended up just taking a photo instead of hitting record.
Oh, wow.
Maybe.
It's easy to slag, isn't it?
Oh yeah, me and Greg are good at that.
Yeah, I wish.
Um,
Well, it's gonna rattle around if I move it all. I know right well. I
What?
have certain rules. I'm not allowed a clicky pen
Oh yeah.
because
You fidget with it.
I fidget with it. And
Not like coins.
yeah, yeah, I'm like a child. Alright.
right, okay. You good to go?
Yeah.
Do you want to intro this time?
No, I think it's your turn. I did
Okay.
last time.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So, hello and welcome to In Conversation with, the best interview show I think around at the moment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Could be biased.
It could be biased, but you know, we'll leave it up to our listeners. I'm Colin McDonald, of course, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Greg Mulhall
How you doing?
and Gavin Kelly.
Afternoon, lads.
And today we're joined by Irish Canoeist Jenny Egan.
Yes, great to be here. Thanks, guys. For
Thanks.
having
Welcome
me.
back, I suppose. You are,
Yeah.
of course, a DCU alum.
Yeah, I graduated in 2013 from athletic therapy and training. I did my studies over a bit of a longer period than most students in terms of I was an athlete competing for Ireland, so it was very hard to combine full-time study
Yeah.
with an international canoeing career. So I did my first and second year full-time, but I just found it very demanding in terms of trying to perform well on an international stage and also do well.
Because it's a
with my-
demanding course.
It is, yeah.
But before you get into your
It sure
athletic
is,
career
and
stuff
if you
like that.
talk to most athletic therapy and training students, I'm sure they'll tell you how demanding the course is. So, yeah, I did my first and second year full time, and then thankfully, through the Institute of Sport, they brought an agreement to help athletes to study and combine their academia and sporting careers. So I got accepted on that scholarship course, and I did my third year modules over 2 years. So I split them out, and then I did my modules in my fourth year, my clinical practice 1 year. Then I took a year out, and then I came back and did my thesis. So just a little bit of a longer road, but it was really good for me because it meant I could perform well on the international stage and also perform well with my studies.
What was the subject of the thesis?
Oh, it was quite a complicated. So it was the effects of acute intermittent normobaric hypoxic exposure on a range of physiological parameters.
Try saying that after 6 points.
Jeez, after I'm sober now and I don't think I could do it. Like,
Yeah.
But also welcome back in the sense that we met here, of course, a few months ago. Myself, yourself, and Greg all attended Mary McAleese's. It was Women in Leadership, and it was specifically about sport that day. And it was a great panel hosted by Joanne Cantwell and featured other top female athletes like Fiona Hudson and Lindsay Peat and Greta. I'm not going to say her last name because God forgive me. Yeah, I'm sorry, Greta, but I can't pronounce it that well. But yeah, we met at that, and that was a fairly good experience.
Yeah, it was a really good day. It was so good to be in a room with different athletes and talking about all our different experiences. And you know, Joanne is a great presenter, and it was great to have her there to host the day as such. So I think it's great to have these events in DCU because it gives a little bit of light to people in terms of sporting careers and how we combine our sporting careers and study careers, because in a lot of countries, like the women I compete against, they would all be nearly full-time athletes from once they turn 18, let's say, or even before that. So a lot of them would only do school, and next thing they'd be training full time, and when they finish their sporting careers they might have nothing else then when
fall
they finish.
back on.
Exactly. So
was that always something you were quite mindful of?
yeah, it was always something I was quite mindful of, and my parents and my family would have always been, you know, it would be good to have something else for when you finish, and I'm really thankful for that. And I think it's good also to experience different things as well as your sporting career, because if you only train full time for such a long period of time, it can become too much, and it's good to have that little bit extra on the side once it's not demanding and you can combine them both. So for me, I'm really happy I did it, and I've learned a lot from doing my degree in DCU.
How has it informed your canoeing career, do you think?
So it definitely helped me in terms of, we did a lot of sports science in our course, so I learned a lot more in terms of the training principles and adaptation. And then in the injury side of things, so my course is predominantly about injuries, so musculoskeletal injuries. So it definitely helped me understand injuries in sport more. And then we also did like sports psychology. So there's so many different modules that help me as an athlete within my sport also.
Very good. So we'll go back to the start then, I suppose. And like just before Greg arrived, you were joking that your mum said you were in the boat before you were even born. But when was your first experience in the boat?
I think I sat in a boat by myself probably when I was 3 years old. So yeah, it's been a long but great journey, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get into this sport from such a young age. I sat in a boat when I was 3 years old, and I did my first race when I was 8 years old in England. But don't get me wrong, I did so many other activities. And
was there any other sports when you were growing up that you're particularly fond of?
So I did lots of different sports when I was growing up. Did tennis, swimming, basketball, and then I also though did a lot of dance and drama, singing. I played the violin for years.
So an eclectic mix of activities. Yeah.
So
Was there ever anything else that you might have gone down the path of instead of canoeing?
Yeah, so actually when I was younger, all I ever wanted to be was on stage, to be either a dancer or actress. So you could say I'm doing a different type of performing now. But yeah, it was something I was always very interested in. But I think doing the dance and drama and singing and performing on stage really helped me in my sporting career also, because you have to be able to perform under pressure with everyone watching, you know, and I think a lot of those aspects from my dance and drama came into my sport.
I suppose you have to kind of control your emotions, not let your head get away from you or anything like that when you're performing in sport as well.
And you know, even in my DCU degree, doing presentations and everything, they all add to helping you with your confidence and having to perform under pressure and in front of a crowd. So, you know, there's all different aspects in life that kind of cross over in terms of your sporting career as well.
Did you find that? Because you took to the stage there last semester.
I did, yeah. We had a DCU drama presentation of train spotting.
Oh, very good.
It was intense.
Yeah, definitely just in terms of confidence and things like that, it was extremely helpful. And then, of course, doing presentations. I had a presentation there on Tuesday. It went alright.
Yeah, it went well.
But yeah,
I was there.
Jenny, I'm just wondering, when did the canoeing really become very serious at a young age?
Yeah, so I became British National Sprint and British National Marathon champion under 14. So I guess kind of when from under 14 upwards, I began to really like love the sport and think, okay, this is something I really want to focus on. When you get to that age, you know, you can't really focus on a few things. If you want to be good at one thing, you kind of have to put all your focus into it. So at the age of 14 to 16, I kind of began to predominantly just do canoeing. So that was the age, and I travelled the world competing from a young age. My mum drove me.
Yeah, I was about to say
across
Europe.
So one year I think we did 12 ferry crossings just in the 1 year. And that would just be between April and let's say September really. So it's a lot of travelling, and I would have flown to some places as well. So that was just the ferry crossing. So I'm very lucky that I have a very supportive family, because
wonder how much, if you added up, were the costs in petrol.
Oh God, petrol, ferry.
I imagine getting like a canoe like sent via airline would be quite expensive. Like considering Ryanair charge you like €30 for 10 kgs. Like,
we don't bring our boats on airlines. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So we bring our own paddles, and then we get boats at competitions that are pretty much the exact same, and we bring
standard,
and we bring our own internal fittings. I'm lucky enough to be sponsored by a boat manufacturing company called Canoe. So they're great. They help me so much. They bring the same boat to all my competitions, so I just bring my own seat and foot bar, and I'm able to put them in the boat, and it's pretty much the exact same then as what I train in at home. And then my paddles are Yantex, who I'm also sponsored by, and they're at every competition in case anything happens to your own paddles, but we would bring our own personal paddles with us to those competitions. But my family have spent a lot of money on me over the years, but thankfully they've been so supportive.
Repaid in kind, I'm sure.
I hope the medals repay them enough.
So let's talk about kind of getting into the professional side of it then. When did that first come into your mind about making this your career, pretty much?
Yeah, so like I say, I started in DCU in 2006 and I graduated in 2013. So when I graduated, I knew I wanted to focus on being a full-time athlete, because I wanted to give it my best chance. And you're away a lot as well on warm weather training camps and everything, so you know it's always nice to have a little bit of something on the side, if it's study or something small work-wise. But the problem is that you're away so much, and it's very hard to kind of be able to do that at a high level while you're out of the country. So when I graduated in 2013, I decided I'm going to train full time. So since 2013 I've been training full time, and thankfully I'm supported by Sport Ireland. I'm a carded athlete with them, so their sport is crucial to my performances and my results, and you know I have specific targets I have to meet all the time in order to keep that funding. So which is natural, you know, if someone's going to invest in you, you have to give back return.
Of course,
so so I decided then, and since then I have to say I've had my best years. I've won a few medals over the last few years that have been
just a few.
Very
I think I actually read, like when I was doing my research and stuff, I think like I read an interview after like 2015, this is my best year yet. After 2016, no, this is actually my best. And then like 2017, exact same thing. And you said no, this has to top the others. So I think Sport Ireland probably okay with their investment.
I hope so. I hope they're happy with it. I won a junior world championship medal in 2005, a bronze, and it took me a long time to get back onto that world championship podium. I got a European Championship sprint medal in 2015, and that was actually the first European Canoe Sprint Championship medal for Ireland. Male or female, yeah. So
that's the one sitting beside you then, is it?
No, that's my world champs beside me from this year. So that's the first senior canoe sprint world championship medal for Ireland, which I got a few months ago in August in Portugal of this year. So kind of from 2015 till now, it's been
an upward spiral.
Great journey. And you know, it's great when all the hard work from all the years pay off. I've been doing this for such a long time. It hasn't just happened overnight.
You've had a few heartbreaks in your time, of course, as well.
Yes, a lot of heartbreaks, and any athlete I'm sure you speak to will tell you they've had a lot of heartbreaks, and it's how you deal with those heartbreaks to go forward and perform then in the future. A lot of people say failure, it's the first attempt in learning. So it's hard at the time to kind of think like that, but as I've matured as an athlete and as a person, I've been able to kind of learn from mistakes. Don't get me wrong, you've so many tears and cry at the time, but then you have to kind of refocus and think, right, well, this is my weakness, I need to work on this, this is going to make me stronger for the future. And it's been good.
It's actually quite an apt topic to bring up, because Monday evening I hosted a mental health and sport panel down below on the Pats campus. These guys were invited to do it as well. It wasn't a solo project, but they were at Florence in the Machine. They
left you.
They had other commitments.
In fairness, we bought our tickets months ago, and
came up very last minute.
Yeah, but
I'm sure he understands.
Yeah, look, you know what? It just means I get to launch my solo career but that bit quicker. But one of the questions I asked the panelists was, has any setback or failure ever caused any thoughts for leaving the sport? One of the questions from the audience was, how do you convince somebody that might have lost the love for the sport to keep going and not quit? Do you have any advice on that front?
Yeah, so I've seen it myself within our own club. It's very, like, a lot of, especially when you're younger, I think it kind of affects you more. You see kind of maybe between 17 to, let's say, 23-year-olds, and if they have a few bad races, they think, oh, like, why am I putting so much effort in, like, it's not working. But you have to kind of refocus and think, well, what am I doing wrong? There's something obviously that's not working for me. If maybe the training I'm doing isn't specific to my needs in order to perform. So I'd advise people, if you have a passion for what you're doing, I think passion rules over anything else, and that's the number one thing, a passion, right?
Yeah. One of our panelists was John O'Loughlin, Laois senior footballer, and he said for anybody that was possibly losing the love for the sport that they're in, whatever it is, you have to go back to the very start and find out why you fell in love with the sport in the first place, and just take it from there. And one thing that I added on to that was, for me myself, if I ever suffered any defeats in soccer or hurling and stuff like that, I remembered that I'm playing this sport primarily first because I enjoy it. It's for fun, it's with my mates and stuff like that, and the successes are only bonuses or additions to that. And once you keep your kind of baseline enjoyment as I'm doing what I love, then you can't really.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the way. Passion is your number one key, and if you have a passion for something, it'll always be there. So yes, there's always heartbreaks, but I think if that passion is there, you'll overcome those heartaches, and you'll come back fighting stronger. And don't get me wrong, it can be very very hard at the time when things aren't going as you planned, but you just need to, like you say, go back to, why did I start this sport? I love this sport, I love it, I've made friends, I've enjoyed it, I've had so many good things. A lot of people talk about, it's not all about the medals you get, it's about the journey, in terms of you have to enjoy the journey, because if you don't enjoy the journey, you just get so bogged down in, okay, medals, and of course you want to win and you want to be successful, but you have to enjoy the road to that success also.
It seems like over the past 3 or 4 years, certainly your love for canoeing, it's only grown, I'd say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm in a really good environment at the moment. So my club is Salmon Leap Canoe Club in Leixlip, County Kildare, and both my fiance John Simmons and my brother Peter Egan are my coaches, and we've got a really good system out in the club now. We've got lots of juniors coming up, and I predominantly train with junior boys and senior men. In terms of the senior men can put different resistors on their boat, so it makes it harder for them, so it kind of makes us on an equal playing field as such, so we're able to push each other. Like in boxing, I kind of compare it to sparring partners. So we've got a really good setup in Salmon Leap at the moment, and I spend the best part of my season there in terms of the winter months, but then at the end of January, start of February, I'll go away in a warm weather training camp to Florida usually, and I train with some of the best women athletes in the world to get some specific canoeing sessions with them before the competition season starts.
It's funny you mentioned your brother there. Canoeing's not just it's a bit of a family trade, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a family affair as such. My brother's an international canoeist also. I always wanted to follow in his footsteps, and he's the one that I've always kind of continued to try and go the same direction as. We're very close, and he's helped me from day one.
And of course you've got to compete together
Yes,
as well.
yeah. So we actually competed in the Liffey Descent last year, and we won the Mixed K2. So it's our first time to do the Liffey Descent together, which is a big thing because we've both been doing it for years with different partners, or in K1s, which is the individual single boat. So that was really special to do
I
that.
learned that, yeah. When I was in the K and that's how many people is in it.
Yeah.
So like
okay.
K4 is like,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So what else did I learn? Here's my fun fact of the
I
day.
mean, you were struggling between the difference between canoeing and rowing and kayaking.
No, it wasn't. It was
weren't you?
canoeing and... Don't make me out to be a mum. It was canoeing and kayaking, okay?
Yeah, so really what we do is kayaking, but in Ireland a lot of people, like most people in Ireland, say, how's the rowing going, and you're like, you try and think, sometimes we correct them, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, no, it's going really well.
Do you want to give a quick
But-
definition of each for those
Yeah,
that
so
might be confused?
The easiest thing to kind of describe it is rowers go backwards and we go forwards, okay? So
That's actually, that's
Yeah.
very succinct actually.
so we
yeah.
always slag them saying the rowers go backwards all their life. So but that's kind of the easiest way to describe them. So, and the difference between canoeing and kayaking is, what I do is kayaking, so I've got a paddle that has 2 blades at each end, whereas canoeing is a single blade paddle. But just in Ireland it's easier to maybe just, it's called canoeing rather than kayaking, because a lot of people wouldn't really know the difference. So technically what I do is kayaking, but it's easier to kind of describe it as
he
canoeing.
was wrong for laughing. No, in my defence, I actually can't swim even. So like, it's not a complete and total ignorance.
Yeah.
There is a
It's
reason.
just a fear of water.
It's not fear. Like, okay, I'm from Laois, so
Oh,
Laois
you're
is-
landlocked, of course.
Yeah, we're landlocked. We're the only county without a neighbouring county such as the sea. So
Yeah.
with that in mind, my parents just I don't know, just didn't bother. Yeah, they've probably given up at
It's
that
never
stage.
too late though.
I've tried multiple times.
Yeah.
I can't even float.
You
Yeah.
can.
Now I
Of course
actually
you
did.
can.
I actually did go kayaking for a good part of the summer. I was in America, and the people we were staying with, they were on a lake and did kayaks, and we used to go out. But I had to like completely
Yeah.
vests and all.
Yeah, life jacket and yeah.
the little
Yeah, but seriously, like, it's never too late to learn how to swim. Like, for sure you can do it. Everyone can do it. There's no such word as can't.
We'll make a canoe study, yeah, Craig.
We'll
We'll get Jenny to train you up.
the
And
shit
you've
of
got
my
a
life.
great swimming pool and facilities here in DCU.
True,
so
exactly,
Yeah, there's probably like without
The gym's
being,
right there, Greg.
yeah, without being too
Yeah, we
biased,
can
I'd
actually
say,
look into it from here.
yeah, without being too biased, I'd say in terms of sports facilities, DCU is probably one of the leading universities. Have you found
definitely,
that?
yeah, for sure. And they have the sports academy course, and then I was lucky to get a sports scholarship, which was great. And then they also offer an elite athlete pathway system.
Okay.
So that's how I actually got into athletic therapy and training. They offer usually, I think it's 1 or 2 positions per sports course. So I sent in a portfolio, an application and a portfolio with like all newspaper clippings, results and everything. This was during my leaving cert. And then I was called in for an interview, and I went for an interview, and they ask you what you hope to get in your leaving cert, and they ask you all about the course and why you'd like to do it. And then I got a phone call when I got my leaving cert results to ask how I did, and then I got offered the spot. So it's a really good pathway also for athletes into DCU. And then when this is the way it was then anyway, I'm not sure if it's changed. When you get in, then you apply for your scholarship separately.
I like
Or
the
maybe
way-
it's changed.
I like the way they ask you what you hope to get in your leaving cert.
Yeah.
Surely everybody's hope is,
Yeah.
maximum points.
Well,
But
yeah, to be realistic anyway.
yeah, exactly. So what's coming up for you in 2019 then?
Yeah, so I've qualified for the European Games next year, which are in Minsk, Belarus. So that's really exciting. I raced in the last one, which was in Baku, Azerbaijan in 2015, and that was the first one. So it was great. It's essentially like European Olympics. It's a multi-sport event. And
again, they're playing it fast and loose with the word European if they have them in Baku.
I know, yeah, it was.
It's the same with the. I say the same about the Eurovision every year.
I know.
Okay. No, sorry, go on.
But yeah, no, it is unusual for the European Games there, but they invested so much money into it. They had huge Olympic village, and then we were competing in a different area 5 hours from where the main village was, and they even built us our own separate village for just canoe and kayak. So yeah, I'm really looking forward.
Should probably take a note there.
Yeah, but it's you know, it's like an Olympics in terms of so much money has to be invested into it, and yeah, so next year it's in Minsk, Belarus, and that's one of my main goals next year, along with the World Championships are in Hungary in August, and that's the first round of qualification for Tokyo 2020. So they're my 2 main goals for next year. I'm right in the depth of winter training at the moment. I'm training 14 to 16 sessions per week.
Wow.
Yeah, so at this time of the year we do a lot of land-based training. So a lot of swimming, running, gym, and then we'd be on the water doing canoeing sessions 3 times a week.
Where are you based for most of this?
Salmon Leap Canoe Club out in Leakslup. It's on the Liffey. We call it the lake because there's a reservoir at the end, but it's the River Liffey. So that's where I do most of my training, both gym and on the water canoeing sessions during the winter months. And then I swim in Westwood, in Westmanstown.
Okay.
It used to be called Crunch Fitness, but it's now Westwood, and we swim there twice a week. So for example, today I was on the water at 7 a.m. and after this I'm going back and I've got a running session and a gym session straight afterwards. So
I went for my run.
You did not. Don't be lying.
5 miles this morning, 7 a.m.
Stop. Like.
Honest to God, did.
I'm only saying that because you're here, honestly.
And when will you finish for the night?
So
actually, run us through a typical day if you don't mind.
Yeah. So
like, when do you rise?
I get up at between 6 and 6:15 a.m. So, and I have just something small to eat and a cup of coffee, very important.
Of course, yeah.
So
how do you take your coffee?
With milk, no sugar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then depending on the day, say for instance, I was on the water this morning at 7 a.m. And I had a canoeing session, and then I would go have something to eat straight afterwards, and then usually I'd go for a nap. Maybe.
But
essential.
Instead, you're having the ears burned off you by 3 college students.
No, I managed to have a nap now this morning after
Okay.
my paddling session. So, yeah, and then I would have lunch, and then I'd prepare, then kind of just relax before I had to go do my afternoon session. So then this afternoon I have a running session followed by a gym session. So I'll be in the club between 4 and 6 p.m. then this evening. So it depends on the day. Like for example, on a Monday I swim at 7 a.m. and then I have a longer gym session in the evening. So most days I would have 2 to 3 sessions per day. My day off per week is a Friday.
Why Friday?
It just, sometimes we would have Sundays off, but I train with a lot of people that might be in school or working, so it suits them better if they can train at the weekends, like make the most of their days off, work or school. So Friday just suits us really well, so that's why we take Fridays off. So yeah, it's full on, and you know, you can do all the training in the world, but if you don't adapt and recover in between, it's pointless. You know, that's when your muscle heals, that's when you make the adaptations and get faster and better. So
we mentioned the Olympics there, and obviously Tokyo's coming up in 2020. Would you mind talking us through, for those who don't know, including myself, the qualification process for the Olympics in your particular field?
Yeah, so canoeing is probably, I think, the hardest to qualify canoe sprint for the Olympics. Unfortunately, there's very
so
few
little places and so many
places.
athletes.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people, when they watch our sport in the Olympics, I'm sure they think, God, this sport must be easy, you know, there's not so many people there competing. But it's the fact that we don't get enough quota places from the International Olympic Committee for our sport. For people who don't know our sport and watch it in the Olympics, they probably think, oh, this sport's easy because there's very few athletes competing at the Olympics. But the problem is we don't get very many quota places from the International Olympic council. So we only get 246 quota places, and at the World Champs there's like 1,100 athletes competing. So there's two
And that's
chances,
male and female. Like.
male and female,
Wow.
yeah. So there's two chances to qualify. So the first one is the World Championships, which are next August, and then the next round of qualification is the European qualifier the year after in 2020. So for me, I'm in the single event, so the K1.
Because we're in our Ks and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We're learning.
So and the distances for that are the 500 meters and 200 meters. Top 8 quota place, top 8 at the World Champs usually get direct qualification for the Olympics.
Okay.
However, they've changed the qualification to make it a little bit harder again for Tokyo 2020, as if it wasn't hard enough. And it's now top 5 get direct qualification.
Okay.
But there's women that would compete in the single kayak, so the K1, the double kayak, the K2, and then the kayak with 4 people, the K4. So it's a little bit complicated in terms of, say a woman competes in all 3 of those events. That's like a double up, let's say, of a quota place. So there's a thing called a countback system, so that her place would then go to the next best K1 in line usually.
Okay.
So it's a very complicated system. I really wish it was like athletics or swimming, where you get many chances to try and do a time and you qualify. But unfortunately there's just so few quota places, and Europe's the hardest place to qualify from as well.
Is that just because of the sheer number of athletes?
Yeah. So, you know, I've beaten people from America or other continents, but they have their own continental qualifiers that there's not the same amount or quality of athletes competing as compared to Europe. So it's just the way it is, and you know, I have to focus on what I have to do and to be the best I can be, and that's all I can do, and hopefully get one of those quota places.
And how are you feeling ahead of, you know?
Yeah, so it's the 500 meters and 200 meters, so I'm really trying to work on my shorter distances. I've always been a more aerobic endurance athlete, but over the years I've gotten a lot more explosive. So my training is going to focus on improving those shorter distances now. So, you know, I'm different goals for throughout the year in terms of training periods and everything, and you have to focus on those smaller goals in order to reach the bigger goals. So at this moment in time, you know, I'm looking at different goals I've set in the gym in order to get stronger. That's going to make me faster than the summer months. So, you know, the most important thing is to have consistency in your training and to keep well and injury free and sickness free, because then it, you know, eliminates any time out. So
Jenny, what is the biggest improvement you've made over your career? Would it be after a loss, something that really made a difference?
yeah, so there's a few things I could probably think of, but I think in 2016, coming after London 2012, I missed qualification for London 2012 by 1 position. So at that time, it was a really big heartbreak for me, and it kind of affected the rest of my 2012 season. I felt like, you know, very bad within myself in terms of, oh, I didn't achieve what I wanted to, and I've worked so hard, and, you know, that kind of affected the rest of my season. But going into 2016, I had a very different kind of mental attitude in terms of, yeah, I'm going to give it my best shot to qualify, but if I don't qualify, I'm not going to let it ruin the rest of my season. So at the European Continental Qualifiers, I missed by 1 place again, unfortunately.
Very, very agonising. 0.07.
Yeah, I was second.
second.
So
Like,
that's like, you can't even take a
You
breath.
can't,
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, I had my tears and I was very upset and everything. But like a day after that, then I was competing in the World Cup, and I went out and I did a personal best and new Irish national record in the K1 500 meters. So for me, that was a very big kind of step forward in terms of I'd grown so much and matured as an athlete, in terms of I was able to reset, refocus within the space of 24 to 48 hours and then go and achieve that. So, you know, that was a big kind of step for me. Other times also then I have to look at probably, for example, last year at the World Champs in the K1 5,000 meters, I'd a race with very many collisions. In the K1 5000 metres, I don't know if you know, there can be quite a lot of collisions that can affect your race. And I placed 10th, which is good, but it wasn't what I'd hoped for. And then I was flying straight to South Africa the day after that event for the Marathon World Championships, and I'd less than 2 weeks till I raced in the Marathon World Championships. And I felt very down after Sprint World Championships, but I reset and refocused, and I'm lucky I've got good family, good support around me to help me get over these disappointing moments. And I went and I won a bronze medal at the World Championships in South Africa last year, and that's
Ireland's first since 1988.
No, so yeah, there's nearly. So it's the first ever women's.
He's heartbroken.
Sorry, that's the internet's fault.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, in fairness.
It is, but yeah, so it's the first senior canoe marathon world championship medal for a woman. And only the second one ever. So the first one was won by a man called Gary Moore in 1996 in Vaxholm, Sweden.
Okay.
And he won a silver medal. So it was 21 years after that Ireland got their next canoe marathon world championship
Still not a
medal.
bad start.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, so for me that was another big thing. I was able to refocus within 2 weeks after a disappointment and get better. So, and then another one was like I learned a lot over the years also, and this year I don't know if you got to watch my K1 5000 metres where I won this bronze medal at the Senior Canoe Sprint World Championships in Montemor Velo, Portugal at the end of August. But the video's online, and I had a bad start.
Yeah, you had a massive
You
comeback.
were down in
I
quite
was-
down 15th.
Yeah, 15th position. One point my brother even counted me as like 19th position. He was watching it from home on the live stream. So I had a bad start, but I refocused and I thought, right, come on, you can catch these groups one by one, and just focused on each group to catch. And it was just for me, even looking back at the race, it's not hard to believe, but it's great to see how well I did. And
what's going through your own mind? Do you know that you're that far behind, and what's going through your mind when you're trying to catch up? Then is it just right, I have to just go as fast as I can now, this is just all out? Yeah,
so I kind of did it step by step. So in the 5,000 metres there's usually different groups form, and I don't know if you've heard of wash hanging.
Yes, I have that. It's the equivalent of like slipstreaming in cycling.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So there's a wash that comes off your boat, and if you're on the side wash of somebody, you can reserve about 10 to 15% of energy. So the 5,000 metres is a very tactical race. So I kind of just I was like, okay, catch this group, relax here for a minute or two, go again, catch the next group. And thankfully I felt really good, I felt really fit, and it all came together in the day. But it just, for me, that was a big kind of step forward in my career as well. I was able to not just think, oh God, I've had a bad start, the race is over now. I was like, no, Jenny, you can do this, you can get back up there, give it your best shot, and know when you go across that line you've given it all. So I caught the groups one by one, and then I caught up to that front group, and I was like, okay, just stay there, don't lose them now. And yeah, thankfully crossed the finish line in bronze medal position. And it's so nice because it's such a historic occasion.
You find it hard not to just sit at home and stare at it forever.
But apart from just that one, like, you've got quite a few firsts there, like.
Yeah.
Do you ever?
She was explaining the prestige, the different prestige levels of the different medals that she has.
Oh.
So that one is the number one.
Yeah.
This would be the number one, along with my European Champs medal and my Marathon World Championship medal. So the European Championship and the World Championships, obviously the World Championships is more prestigious than the European Championships, but championship events would be the most prestigious over World Cup events. Like, World Cup medals are still really hard to get, but the championships are the ones that would be more prestigious. So it's so nice to achieve after all the years of all the hard work. And I think what's great is, so many people said to me when I came home, and messages after I won this medal, like, well done, oh my God, you've taught our juniors in the club to never give up and just keep fighting. And for me, that's something special. In terms of these younger athletes are learning from me. And you know, it's a great saying, success breeds success. So I know for myself, when I saw people I knew achieve certain medals or different positions, I thought, God, if they can do it, I can do it. So I just hope, you know, it helps these kids to achieve their own goals. You know, everyone has different goals set out for themselves. So hopefully, it does.
So I'm sure every athlete would answer as long as possible to this question, but what is the longevity in a canoeing career? What would be the typical retirement age bracket?
Yeah, so it's for our sport, it's very different in terms of, you know, some people would maybe peak earlier in the career, early 20s, some might peak mid-late 30s. So there's like different examples. There's people who've gotten Olympic medals when they were early 20s. Then there's Olympic champions when they're 36. So it depends, I think, on the individual athlete, but definitely most athletes, if they're still performing, still achieving, still passionate about their sport, a lot of athletes go on now until the late 30s, 40 kind of. So yeah, for at an international level, kind of late 30s, 40s is kind of maybe the age category that a lot of people would kind of retire. But then you've some who would maybe still be competing and winning world champs medals, maybe kind of 40 to 43 age category. So it really depends on the person. And you know, for me, I say I'm going to do the sport as long as I possibly can, in terms of as long as I'm passionate about it, I feel like I'm improving, I feel I can achieve more, and I'm injury and illness free. So it really depends, I think, on the individual athlete, but it's definitely different to, like, say, you know, gymnastics. It's a younger sport. Nearly always it's different.
And so obviously you still have a good few years left. When it is all said and done, what would you like to say about your career as you look back on it?
That's a good question. I've never been asked before.
That's a first. Yes, exclusive.
We've got our exclusive of the interview.
I think, you know, it'll be a very probably difficult or hard time to decide. But I hope that I look back and know that I've given it all. I've achieved everything that I could achieve, and that I've enjoyed the whole journey. Yeah.
Very good.
How do you feel you're doing so far? How many of those have you ticked off?
I'm really happy with how things are going so far. You know, I've always dreamt to be a world championship medalist, and last year I won my first senior world championship medal. I won a junior world championship medal in 2005. So I'm so happy to be able to say I'm a senior world championship medal at both marathon and sprint. Like, for me, that's a big goal, and I'm a European championship sprint medal. So, you know, there's these goals since I've been younger. I've always wanted to be a world championship medalist, let's say. So, you know, I'm really happy with how things are going, and I'm so lucky, like I say, to have the support network around me of my family, of Sport Ireland, of the Institute of Sport, Canoeing Ireland, and then I've such great sponsors as well. Always willing to have more.
as are we, if anybody's listening.
I presume, like, you know, obviously funding and stuff probably plays a big part of your, you know, your yearly and how you can look ahead to what you plan to do. And I'm sure, like, over the years, you know, where success wasn't as forthcoming, probably a lot harder compared to maybe your last 2-3 years.
Yeah, that's definitely the way. And, you know, you have to have success to get the money. So luckily for me, my family have helped me so much. Like, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in without my family. Like, and I'd be the first to say that, both, you know, financially, both mentally, both, like, you know, just in terms of a support network, they've been there from day one, and I'm so thankful for that. So yes, of course, when you begin to get results, you obviously begin to get more financial awards.
Becomes slightly easier, I suppose.
Yes, it does, but it's still, you know, it's still a very costly sport in terms of I have to go away on warm weather training camps really to be in the best shape possible for the competition season. So, you know, they cost money. Daily living costs money, then okay, I'm in a position now that I've got good sponsorship from equipment, but you know, that wasn't always the way. My family had to buy it, and so yeah, definitely it's a little bit better now, but you're always never like, you never have money left over. You're always nearly in debt. Like, so, but you know, it's my decision. You know, a lot of people say to me, God, you know, you sacrifice so much, aren't you great? And God, it's such a big sacrifice. And I'm like, it's not a sacrifice, it's what I choose to do. It's what I love, it's
Nobody's
what I
forcing
choose.
you to do
Exactly.
this,
And I feel I'm lucky to be able to do this. You know, I love what I do, and you know, when it begins, all the hard work begins to pay off, you love it even more, because you can see, like I say, this is a lifetime of work that's beginning to pay off these last few years. Well, like, you know, it's paid off over the years as junior and then into the senior ranks, but just the last few years especially has been.
And you've got to travel the world as well.
It's not a bad.
You do, but you know, I tell people, you know, they're like, wow, you get to go to so many places, and I'm like, yeah, but for, you know, competitions, you literally usually just see the airport, your hotel, and your training venue. If you stay to the Monday, you might get to see a little bit on the Sunday evening before you have to fly home. But you know, I've also made so many good friends from all over the world, and that'll stay with you for life, you know. And I'm very lucky in terms of I've trained with the Danish kayak team
quite regularly, I think.
Yeah, and I've become such good friends with them, and like I nearly feel like I'm part of their team. Do you know what I mean? Because they're so good to me. And when I won this medal at the World Championships this year, you know, they were running down to congratulate me, and just like, wow, Jenny, that was so amazing. And you know, and like, that's so nice, like, to have that friendship and support also from outside of the country.
I still don't know how I feel about the Danes after last November.
Colin.
I'm joking, of course.
You're bigger than the man.
And has coaching after your career entered your mind at all?
Yeah, like, you know,
You're kind of immersed in it, you know.
Yeah.
I'd say
like
you're definitely a mentor to
your
a
brother,
couple.
fiance now, you know, as well. So it seems like the natural progression.
Yeah, well, you know, I enjoy like passing on, let's say, my knowledge to kids, especially. I love kids when they want to learn, you know, and are passionate about the sport. And you've probably heard about this 2020 initiative.
That was going to be my next question.
So I was at the launch of this 2020 initiative, and you know, it's to increase by 20%, you know, women in sport, media coverage, sponsorship by the year 2020. So it's a great initiative, and I hope that'll really work out and help. So for me, there's a great number of young girls in the club now. But the hard part is keeping them on. It's the same with boys, you know, they get to the age of 16 and they realise there's so many other things kind of in life in terms of distractions.
And other sports come calling too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So it's hard to keep them on, but I do the odd few kind of coaching or lessons with them whenever I have time to do my own training. So I love kind of passing on my knowledge and helping them, and you know, you really can see the ones that really want to learn and want to be there kind of thing. So it's important, I think, as an athlete within your sport to try and give back. Yeah, it's more difficult maybe the position I'm in at the moment because I'm so focused on what I'm trying to achieve myself. But yeah, I'll definitely give back in the sport for the rest of my life in some way.
And just talking about the 2020 campaign, how can just the ordinary person on the street get involved? What are the different ways that you can get involved with the campaign?
So there's so many different ways to get involved. For example, like, you know, some parents, you know, they would think, oh, they don't really mind if their girl doesn't do sport, just once their son is doing sport, you know. So that's kind of a very old school kind of mentality. So in terms of a parent point of view, I would say please encourage your daughters to do sport. Don't like try and put them off, or don't think it's not as important for them to do sport. Even, you know, not everyone is going to be an elite athlete, not everyone is going to compete internationally, but everyone has a place within sport. Even if you're not an athlete, you could be a manager, you could be a coach. So, you know, there's a position within sport for so many people.
Like when I I actually, you might know about my bad. Well, how would you know about? You know what it is? Osteochondritis dissecans.
Yeah.
So I have a bad knee, and so when that happened, I've had a couple of operations on it. I couldn't play anymore, so I initially.
Greg was on a few development squads for Laois Hurling for a while.
Not that important.
It's nice to mention.
No, I started refereeing.
Mm-hmm.
There was an initiative at the time. I think it's still going now. So I did that for a while, and then I started coaching in my local club, and then just by chance I got in with a newspaper, and I've been there since.
Mm-hmm.
So you will find your place in sport. I do firmly agree with that.
I'm very proud to say
Definitely.
that my little cousin Megan out in Castleknock has become the star of her ladies football team. She scored 5 goals recently against her local rivals.
Very good.
Well, it won't be hard to overshadow your sporting accomplishments.
I have a few county medals in there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. And like that, one door opens another. And for you who's studying communications, now you're doing with the newspaper. Like that's great. That's going to help you with your future. And so I really think the main thing is if parents can really help their daughters to have an interest in sport, because that kind of is fundamental, because no matter what the coach says or anything, if the parents aren't wanting their daughters to do it, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So for me, I think that's the kind of the number one thing for parents, to want them to do it. But like I say, everyone can kind of play a role in helping girls to want to play sport and do sport, or do something within a sporting environment, be a referee or anything manager. So I think one of the things that was said at the launch was, this isn't about women helping women in sport. This is about everyone, men, women, encouraging women to do sport, getting rid of the stigma that women aren't good at sport or that. But I think it's definitely getting better, and it's definitely going in the right direction, but I think everyone can help it.
Do you have any final questions about sport before we move to the lighter side of the interview?
Oh, well, I was ready for the lighter side of it, but I really have to say, I really do admire you, Jenny, because to come back from the missing out on London, missing out on Rio, and then just saying I'm just going to stay going, and you're going, and I firmly do believe.
And the last 3 years have probably been the best of your career.
You are determined to get to Tokyo, and I wouldn't like to be anybody standing in your way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm lucky to do what I love, and like I say, so much heartbreak has been along the way, but I think it's how you deal with them and move forward. And in any sport you have to be persistent. You can't just, like I say, I see some younger people and they're like, oh God, I just got beaten by this guy. Oh God, all the hard work I've done, and it's just not working out. Don't just give up on it. Think about, well, what have I done wrong? What can I do better to achieve? And yes, have your little bit of tears and disappointment, but learn from it and move forward. And persistence is just so important. I quote it in everything. I do some motivational speaking for schools, and I was talking to a transition year group there, and I was just saying, you have to think about school. Okay, there's subjects you hate in terms of okay, I don't want to have to do this English poem. Why am I doing this English poem? I don't want to do anything to do with English when I'm finished school. But I try and tell them, you have to think of that for the bigger picture. For instance, there's different sessions I hate to do. There's some running sessions that I really hate, but I know that if I do those running sessions, I'm going to be a better canoeist. So you have to think about it that way. You have to do and learn that English poem in order to go and study engineering afterwards, because you need the points, right? So you have to think about it like that. I need to do that running session in order to improve my canoeing. So it's the way you have to learn and kind of assess what you need to do in order to achieve your main goal. And I think that's very important in every way of life. That's what I was trying to tell these kids. There's always going to be things you hate in life that you don't want to do, but you have to think about it. Well, if I do these things, I'm going to achieve what I love. So it's like that.
Very good. Right. Well, moving on to the lighter side, kind of tied in with sports as well. What sports do you watch, Jenny?
Ooh. So I love rugby.
Right.
Great match the weekend. No, unfortunately I wasn't. But the those occasions give me tingles down my spine, you know, like you just momentous occasions like that, you just they've, you know, everyone's had heartbreak in sport, and for them to come back from that and achieve that and achieve it for our country is just unbelievable. I also love tennis. I love watching tennis.
Any particular favourite players?
I love Roger Federer.
Yeah, he's the...
Yeah.
Kira King was also very fond of Roger.
Yeah, he's a champion on and off, right?
Yeah, exactly,
he's such a gentleman, and you know, he's always like in defeat. He's never a bad athlete. Gracious. Yeah. So, you know, I think that's very important. Also, you see a lot of people who would be very bad sportsmen or sportswomen. That feeds back a terrible attitude to the younger generation, and you don't want that. Like, you know, sport, that's what sport is. You're not always guaranteed to win, and that's the beauty of sport. You know, you have to put in so much hard work, and at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. So for me, Roger Federer is the true champion all around.
And on the female side, do you follow anyone?
I love the Williams sisters. I think they're great ambassadors for the sport and for all sports. So they would probably be my favourites.
And is there any other sports?
Other sports to watch, they would be my main two. I always love watching sports in terms of when Ireland especially are competing. Like I would watch athletics, or the cross country championships, things like that. So I have a lot of interest in a lot of sports now. I wouldn't be keen on watching like golf or things like that. Just
we get you.
Just because it's for
we
me.
We have an understanding. Don't worry.
But like that's different. Like that's different for everyone, right? So I like the kind of more exciting adrenaline, kind of shorter duration, kind of like sports. I'd say.
Yeah. And just on the, you know, you spoke there about like obviously the Irish rugby game at the weekend. Do you ever find yourself a little bit jealous that, you know, will you walk out in front of a stadium of, you know, as many Irish people in a, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like it's, you know, the atmosphere they must have when they come out into that pitch must just be unbelievable.
Just pure adrenaline, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Like. And
there are a few times that we get to experience that. For example, in Szeged, Hungary, Canoe and kayak is massive over there. They are superstars. So the World Championships there like attract crowds of like up to 40,000 people.
Wow.
So that's probably the nearest we'll ever experience to a stadium atmosphere, let's say. So yeah, of course you think, oh, that must be amazing kind of thing, but you know, it's all relevant to the sport as well, and you're never going to kind of compete against the amount of spectators that they have, and like we understand that. But for us, let's say our stadium would be the World Championships and the people that come and watch those events. So yeah.
One question I want to do is just a little bit of fact checking, because I read conflicting articles. One article, I'm not going to name them, but one article has you listed as a Lucan woman, and another one has you listed as a Leixlip woman.
So I am a Lucan woman, but it can be confusing for people because I live in Lucan, but I went to school and train in Leixlip and Salmon Leap. So they're all like, I'm on the border pretty much of between Lucan and Leixlip. So I'm 3 minutes up the road and I'm in Leixlip. So I'm a dub, definitely a dub.
Are you ever offended either way now?
Never, no, I'm not offended. Like, you know, there's it's very easy for people to kind of see or maybe misunderstand if I'm Dublin or if I'm Kildare. Like, so because
you do have quite a neutral accent.
Yeah, you do.
So my secondary school was Closhtakiron, and that was like 5 minutes down the road from the canoe club, not even. So I'm sure maybe you've read, but I used to train in the morning before school, and my mum would have breakfast ready kind of in the club for me, and then I'd go straight to school. And then I would usually go home for lunch. My mum would bring me home for lunch so I could eat something substantial to have the energy to then go training straight after school again. So it was all kind of a very close proximity of what I did, and yeah, like that makes a big difference, you know, when you don't have to travel so far or commute.
Very good. Any final questions, lads?
Let me see. Well, I already got my tidbits out there. My wash hanging. I was really proud of that one.
Yeah,
That was good.
he's Greg. To his credit, is a very good investigative journalist.
Yeah,
Well, wasn't that good today?
Not well.
Well, no, you were good.
Yeah.
That
What
other
was-
date, that's wrong on the website, so it's not.
David something or other, they said it was. I don't know.
Is this the 1988?
88 one,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it was so yeah, it should be 1996. Gary Moore, yeah, but that's not your fault. That's the website.
No, exactly.
But like, you really impressed me with your knowing your wash hanging. Like,
You know, yeah.
like I say, it's hard for people to know
Yeah.
the
No,
difference
Greg
between
usually-
rowing and canoeing.
Yeah, Greg
so.
usually comes up with little tidbits
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
I
interview.
found it hard this time.
Yeah.
I really did, because my base for canoeing was not, at a great level, if we're being perfectly honest. But I feel like I'm
No,
much
you've
more
done
educated
very,
now.
you've all
Enlightened.
done very well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
thank you to you all, because like I
Yeah.
say, it's hard for people kind of to understand, not that it's hard for people to understand our sport, it's just it's not out there in the public eye as much
Quite
as
as
other
much,
sports.
yeah, in the
So
mainstream media.
this is great. Thank you for inviting me
No
in
problem.
today.
Thank you
Thanks
for coming to us, Jenny.
The more of these things that happen, the more people maybe be educated in our sport.
Oh, don't worry. On Facebook, we'll be atting every sort of
Yeah.
organisation trying to
Thank
get them
you,
to
yeah.
help us out with promotion. One last question: do we get an invite to the wedding now?
Oh.
I do have another question. Right. Your fiance now, I was going to say
Yeah.
your boyfriend, Jonathan. He's also your coach.
Yeah,
Do you
along
not
with
see
my
enough of him already? And now you're like, you know what?
I know.
We'll make it a
Are you trying to
24/7.
So that's the thing, like, a lot of people think, how do you separate your
One from the other,
one from
kind
another,
of.
and we've been together a long time, and we've grown up, like, he's a kayaker or canoeist, whichever you'd like to, he does kayaking, but like I say, canoeing and kayaking are interrelated in Ireland, so he's from the UK, so he's been canoeing for the majority of his life as well. So the thing is, we understand each other. We always have, in terms of what we have to do in order to achieve in our sport. And there has to be kind of the understanding within your relationship, but also a lot of people say, do you not have arguments when you're training?
Yeah.
We wouldn't really have arguments. We might have debates.
Spirited debates.
Yeah, but like some of the kids or young guys I train with would laugh, because we might have a debate over like, oh, that effort wasn't the right length of time it was meant to be, and things, and they'd laugh, oh God, most couples be arguing about other things. You guys are arguing over like the length of time and effort kind of thing. So, but I'm very lucky, to have someone that understands and is involved in the same sport, because I think it's very hard for athletes of an international level to be with someone who isn't involved in sport or understand your sport and what it takes to succeed. So, but yeah, we're able to kind of, let's say, kind of turn off from one thing or the other at a time. So it's pretty good like that, and we end up maybe just laughing about stupid things.
I'd say it's safe to say that you're a great team. I'm sure you'll have a very, very happy future together.
Oh, I hope so.
Well,
Thank
have you set a date?
Oh no, it won't be
No.
for a while. Yeah, because like.
Hey, if you're looking for a
It's-
good venue, I can get you a good rate.
Yeah.
Abbey Leaks Manor Hotel
Oh,
in
very
County,
good.
County Laois.
Salesman
Yeah,
here.
you know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
always-
Is it in
I'm
your
gonna
family?
It's actually not. I work there, but I get
Alright.
I get €50 for every wedding I bring in.
Oh.
So he has his added incentive, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's quite a nice natural end to the
Yeah.
chat. Jenny, thank you very much for coming in today. I hope you
Oh,
enjoyed your...
wait, we have a promise though. You have to promise us after 2020, all things going to plan, you'll be back here with a new medal to show us.
I'll do my best, guys. I'll do my best.
Fair enough.
Okay, we'll take that. Jenny, thank you very much for coming
Thank you
in.
guys for having me, and thank you so much for doing such research and knowing my sport.
We've been
so,
informed by Joanne, who obviously you know very well, that research is the key
Yeah.
to
Quite
every
diligent
interview.
about it,
Yeah.
Drove that point home.
Yeah,
so
no, Joanne
we-
Cantwell is a very good one to learn from.
She is indeed.
Yeah.
This has been In Conversation with Jenny Egan, with myself, Colin, and my co-host Gavin and Greg. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All the best.
Song full.
Thanks, guys.